Hey everyone, Tracy Jackson here, the tax savvy nurse. And in this video, I'm going to answer a question that I've been getting a lot of questions about and also seeing it out there on social media and just talking with other nurses. And I'm going to answer, what in the world can we still deduct on our taxes as nurses, right, for 2019 or for the next upcoming tax season? What can we still deduct? I see everyone saying that some people still deducted their nursing expenses. Others are like, saying that they know that we can no longer take those expenses, but what are those expenses? So I'm going to give you a list of what we used to be able to deduct and what we can no longer deduct, and then a couple solutions to that, all right, to try to help you out with your tax situation, right? There's not a lot that we can do about the tax code. The tax code is what it is. But part of my job in helping nurses to really lower their tax liability, to pay the least amount in taxes, increase their cash flow, that's what I do. If you understand certain things about the tax code, you can use that to your advantage. So I'm going to show you by sharing my screen in just a moment here. So here we are on the irs.gov website, and I want to make sure that I show you where this is coming from. If you go on their website and you go to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, or the link where it shows tax reform, and then click on individuals, I'll actually put this link below, but I just wanted to show you where this comes from. So there were a lot of changes, made to the tax law this past year. But if you go under the itemized section, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like on the actual return, but miscellaneous itemized deductions suspended, okay? And I'm going to show you here what it says. Previously, when a taxpayer itemized, they could deduct the amount of their miscellaneous itemized deductions that exceeded 2% of their adjusted gross income. So these expenses are no longer deductible, okay? So which expenses are they talking about? It says unreimbursed employee expenses such as uniforms, your union dues, deduction for business-related meals, or I guess work-related meals, entertainment and travel, and also including tax preparation fees and investment expenses. So these were things that you would have normally, or your tax preparer would have put on your Schedule A to itemize your deductions. And I'm going to explain that in a second. Okay, so here's what I mean. So itemized versus the standard deduction. When you itemize, you're talking about the Schedule A, where you can take different things that you want to deduct, like your, you could put mortgage interest on there, your charitable donations and that type of thing. That's on the Schedule A. Or you could take the standard deduction, which those rates did increase for last year. And so, for example, if your standard deduction, if you're head of household, and your standard deduction that you can take is $18,000, if your itemized deductions is over that, then you would want to take your itemized deductions and you would want to put those on your Schedule A. But if your itemized deductions only equal $12,000, then you will just take the standard deduction, because the more that you can lower your taxable income, the better. All right, so with these changes, it kind of made it more so that people will be more likely to take the standard deduction, because it's going to be a little bit challenging for most people to get over that 18,000 or whatever, if it's 24,000 for married filing jointly, or whatever their standard deduction is, okay? So when we talk about itemized deductions, that's where those employee expenses would typically go, okay? When we talk about nurses writing off their scrubs, their uniforms, and so forth, all right? So if your expenses are not over your standard deduction, and you're just a nurse that just has a regular job or W-2 job, you're not a contractor, you're not a travel nurse, you're not, you don't have your own business, then you wouldn't be able to put those on your Schedule A any longer. And I'm going to show you an example. This is the previous Schedule A. So for those of you that said that you put your employee expenses on your tax return last year, I don't know where you put them, but it's no longer going to be there. So it previously looked like this on line 21. It showed you job travel, the union dues, job education, and all of those things. If you had to purchase it for your job, and it was specifically for that, like I used to write off my stethoscope and my scrubs, any continuing education, right? This is the new Schedule A, the 2018 Schedule A. It is no longer on here. So you can see where the casualty losses and then other miscellaneous, other miscellaneous deductions is no longer there. Okay, so I wanted to make that really clear. What you were previously able to deduct is no longer able to deduct those expenses. And so what are those expenses? All right, you could normally deduct the difference when we talk about mileage. So if you were are a travel nurse or a home health nurse and you're traveling to and from clients' homes, or you are traveling for an assignment purposes. Let's say that they only gave you 27 cents a mile for your mileage. They reimbursed you that from your employer. Then normally a nurse would be able to deduct the difference. Now the new rate for that is 58 cents a mile. So typically you would take the difference between the 27 cents and the 58 cents. And if you were tracking your mileage, you could deduct the difference because that was related to your job. You needed to drive for your job. And if you were using your own vehicle, all of that good stuff, right? You could write that off. No longer. Okay. If you were taking meal deductions, let's say you were a travel nurse, or you were on a nursing assignment and you were tracking your meals, you could get 50% write off for that. That is no longer. All right, no more scrubs, no more nursing shoes, no more travel expenses. So if you're on a travel assignment and they're not already reimbursing you, so for travel nurses, it's kind of different, or it gets kind of tricky because you have a certain contract that says that they're going to pay you, let's say $1,000 or let's say $500 per week for traveling expenses, or $1,500 a month for travel expenses. That's what you are entitled to based off of qualifying for those stipends, all right, for those tax-free travel expenses. But other than that, above and beyond what your contract says, you will not be able to write off those expenses, any difference in those expenses. So if you came out of your pocket and spent some things for relocating or traveling, you wouldn't be able to write that off. All right. Relocation for work over 50 miles, no longer. Anything, like I said, stethoscope, you can't. I just bought a new stethoscope myself. Can't really write that off because it's not related to my business. I don't have a nursing related business, and I'm not a contractor, so that's not allowed. All right, health journal subscriptions, renewal of your nursing license. These are no longer. That's why I have a big circle with the cross in it. That means no longer. Nursing supplies. If you had a home office, all right, if you had a home office, let's say I know some nurses that are working at United Health or one of the health health agencies or insurance companies from home. You used to be able to write off your home office or any materials or expenses that your job did not already reimburse you for. Now, if they already reimburse you for it, then that's fine. But if they weren't reimbursing you, and you were spending those things out of pocket, you can't get a deduction for those any longer. Nursing conferences, unless your employer already reimburses you for it. Nursing continuing education. We talked about traveling costs, especially for like meetings and seminars. If you're spending money on parking and tolls and all of that, that may affect more so home health nurses or consultants. But again, if your job or your contract is not already reimbursing you for it, that's the way to get your reimbursement. It will not go on your tax return anymore. Just like I showed you, it's no longer there. All right, and yeah, so I mentioned these apply to those that are not reimbursed by your employers. So how do we get around this? All right, what is really the solution to really try to help you lower your tax liability and maybe potentially get some of those write-offs again? Well, those of you that know me and follow me know that I am a huge promoter of having a business. I don't care what business it is, have something, all right? Have something that you can legitimately do for yourself that will generate you income. Why do I say that? If you are a W-2 worker, if you're a nurse, let's say you're just working at a hospital, which is great, or you just have one employer, two employers. Because I know a lot of nurses that have 2 and 3 jobs, right? We got that full-time job, we got a PRN job, and we got a part-time, we got 18 jobs, right? My philosophy is it's better to have a business. You know, you have one employer, but also have a business because it's gonna, I'll do a whole nother video on that, on how the money and the numbers work out. But I say that because you're gonna open up a whole nother level of deductions that you will be able to take advantage of as a consultant or a business or however you want to structure it. Why? Because then you're allowed to now write off more of your personal expenses that you're already spending money on. So, if you're going to traveling to events or to meetings or to meet with clients, or if you are having a home office, which those are the 2 biggest deductions, using your mileage or your car expenses and a home office. So you would be able to write off things now like your utilities, your water, your gas, your electric, your internet, your cell phone. These are huge, huge deductions, you guys, that can add up. And the more things that you're able to find that you can write off. Now, I will say you have to be actively trying to make a profit in your business. So what do you have to do as far as tax purposes? You have to be actively participating in your business. You have to have the intent to make a profit. You don't totally have to make a profit, especially the first couple years can be challenging, but you have to have the intent to make a profit, and you have to track your expenses and document what you are spending, okay? So 3 simple rules, but if you, let's say, have a skill set, if you are, a nurse educator, or if you are doing anything on the outside of nursing, you could be doing hair, you could be babysitting, you could be having a networking business, you could be selling health products. Whatever it is, you need to set it up properly as a business so that you can now compensate for the things that you're no longer able to deduct by just having a job, okay? And it's going to potentially save you thousands of dollars, okay? Save you thousands of dollars in taxes, okay? So I want to make that so clear. If you don't have a business, you don't know what business you would start, please reach out to me. I do have options for nurses that I help nurses to really get started with. But if you already have your own passion and your own ideas, you can reach out to me as well. My job is to help you to structure yourself so you can pay the least amount in taxes, but also increase your cash flow in other ways as well. So we can definitely talk about that. Speak to your employer about reimbursing you for unreimbursed expenses. So if you're already using your car for let's say travel nursing or whatever, and they're not reimbursing you what you think is enough, you can always have that discussion. Doesn't mean that they have to or that they will, but you can ask them and say, hey, look, I'm no longer able to deduct these things, which they probably should know. They may or may not know the tax law change, but you can always see if that's something that they can reincorporate or renegotiate with your travel assignment, or reincorporate into your compensation for what you're doing, okay? And then I just kind of mentioned here some states, I don't remember all of the states, but some of them do require, I think California is one of them, but employees to reimburse expenses. So they may already be you may already be getting reimbursed for the things that you are spending. So the whole takeaway from this is that I want to say these are the things that you can no longer, under the new tax law, deduct as a nurse. But if you structure yourself properly with a business or as a consultant or a nurse that's operating off of a 1099, then you can deduct some of these things, but more so it's going to just open up a whole nother field of, or a whole nother list or group of laws that you can actually take advantage of as a business owner. And I truly feel that as one of the best ways. Tax law was not made for W-2 workers, unfortunately. It wasn't made for us. It wasn't made to help the middle class person, just someone maybe having the typical job. It was not made for them. All, or I guess most of the tax code was made for business owners. If you look at the changes that, a lot of the changes that were made, and just that one, let's look at the corporate tax rate was cut from 35% to 21%. That was a huge benefit for what? Corporations, for businesses. A lot of the changes were made to help businesses. But fortunately, it is pretty simple to really structure your own business. It's not something that you have to, when I say business, I think people go into thinking that it's a huge thing, like they have to have a secretary and a big office and all of that. You can be a small business owner, meaning you have a skill set that you've turned into another source of income for you. And if you just structure it properly, it can be very, very beneficial to lower your tax liability from your employer income, right, from your job. So your nursing job, it kind of transfers over to say, look, you're making an effort to generate income on the outside. You may have had some losses in the first couple years or so. Hopefully they're decreasing as time goes on, but you're having an intent to make a profit, to increase your cash flow. So those expenses that you're using to promote your business or to build your business or put yourself out there, you can deduct on your personal, will flow over to your personal tax return. So the whole goal is to lower the amount of money that you are being taxed on. And because nurses, right, we make great money, and this is why I'm really putting this information out there and specifically wanting to help nurses, is because I have seen it time and time again that we bring in good money, but we either don't know where it's going, or we just don't know how to keep it, right? It's not just about making the money, it's about how much are you keeping. All right, so I'm not going to beat that horse any longer. I think you guys get it. Like I said, what I want you guys to do is click the link below where it says schedule a consultation if you want to really see how to tweak your tax plan, right? So my goal is to really help you create a tax care plan. And those nurses, if you're watching this, that's what we do. We create a care plan. How do we take care of our patients? We have to assess them first, and then we have to create a plan, and then we have to execute the plan. And it's the same thing when we talk about taxes. If you're not planning for your tax situation, especially for the upcoming year and the future years, you're going to always trying to scramble to figure out how you can keep more of your money. But if you have a plan, that way you're executing that plan. Okay, so let me help you with that. Click the link below. I should take you to my calendar so we can schedule a time to talk. And if you are new to this video, make sure that you click the like button. All right, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can share it. I'm sorry, subscribe, and the little bell so that you can get alerts of when I update new content, because I will be doing that weekly for you guys. And share this out to any nurses that you think this might be helpful to. And then definitely feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, comment below, and I can answer those questions, or inbox me, or whatever you'd like to do. Okay, so this is Tracy Jackson, the Tax Savvy Nurse, and I am here to help nurses create their tax care plan so that they can pay the least amount of taxes and increase their cash flow. So until next time, I will see you guys then.